He said he was going to surf in the afternoon.
Welcome back, everybody. So today's video is all about Tofino and my experience there, and we're also going to talk about surfing. So if you've never been to Tofino, this video could be for you. If you've been to Tofino but you've never surfed there, this video could also be for you. So we're going to talk about getting there, accommodations, where to eat, what to eat, sightseeing, surfing, all that stuff. Okay, so let's get into it. First things first, if you're thinking about going to Tofino, you need to think about your accommodations. Tofino is a relatively small town, beautiful town, amazing town, right on the ocean, right on the west coast of Vancouver Island, but it's fairly small. They have the slogan of end of the road culture, which is literally correct. It's at the end of the road. There's nowhere else to go except ocean. So it's very cool that way. However, it is also very small. Accommodations book up fairly quickly because it's a very popular place to go. Make sure you book that, I would say 6 months in advance. You could probably get away with a closer time frame depending on when you're going. I booked my holiday at the end of August just as kids were getting ready to go back to school, and so that worked out well for me. The swell for surfing at that time is actually optimal as well. So for me, my schedule for going to Tofino is always going to be probably end of August, beginning of September, the kind of the last few days before the kids have to go back to school. I think that's probably, for me, works out the best. But check if you want to go surfing, check the swells, things like that. Check the weather for that time of year. See if it's going to work out for you. There's many other things to do there. If you go there in the winter, there's the storm watching and things like that. Very exciting. If you go earlier in the summer, maybe you want to go hiking, maybe go out whale watching, stuff like that. So coordinate that, then book your accommodations as quickly as possible. There's many different options. So you could do Airbnb, there's lots of those. Hotels, of course, there's lots of those, different levels of hotels as far as stars and price and everything like that. And then there's also campgrounds as well. So most of the campgrounds, you'll find a lot of kids do that because it's very affordable. It's usually near the beach. So if you're a hardcore surfer and you don't want to spend a lot of money on hotels, you're going to be there maybe for a couple of weeks, that's a good option. Just check the reviews because some of the campgrounds are better than others. Some have not really been maintained too well according to the reviews. So really make sure you do your homework there to make sure you're not disappointed, okay? Those are your options. Check it out. Book it as soon as you can. As soon as you know you want to go, book it. You can always cancel it later. Okay, so those are accommodations. Get that dialed in. Make sure you do that properly. Then the other thing to talk about, to make sure you're aware of, is that this end of the road culture, this beautiful town, is kind of remote. You're probably going to be driving in there from the east side of Vancouver Island. If you're taking a ferry in maybe from Nanaimo or Victoria, then you're driving down this windy road. It's super windy, very scenic, lots of nature. You'll see the lakes on the side of the road, super beautiful, the forest. It's almost like out of a movie. But there is a lot of single track. There is some passing lanes that you can pass people if they've got big campers and they're moving slow and stuff like that. But just don't be in a hurry because it is a bit dangerous, that road. You'll see there's a few spots. It's a little bit dicey. I mean, it's totally doable, but people have died, of course, like every road. But it is a bit windy and there are some drop-offs. But they are doing construction on the road right now. This is 2021 if you're watching this video, of course. And they're doing construction. And so the schedule for that, I found out, was during the week, I believe it was closed from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m., which is a big window. And then in the weekends, I believe it was alternating every hour or something like that, so not quite as bad. But if you're coming into Tofino from, say, the mainland or somewhere else where you're taking the ferry in, you're probably racing against time to catch your ferry. And if the road's closed, that's the only road out of Tofino, you're kind of screwed. So make sure you check the website, the government website for the road schedules to make sure that you're going to catch your ferry okay. For us, we kind of lucked out on the way in. It was only 15 minutes waiting. But on the way out, we really had to plan our exit. And we did so accordingly. We got our ferry, no problem. But as we were leaving, I was counting cars that were lined up to come into Tofino. And I swear there was just under 500 cars in the lineup. And they did not look like they were having a good time. So make sure you plan for that. And I would probably think about coming on a weekend rather than a weekday. if it's going to be like that. Check the schedule, plan accordingly. Otherwise, you're going to start off your holiday with a really bad day. All right, now you've booked your accommodations, you're ready to travel there, you know about the road closures. Now, let's talk about Tofino, the city itself. Just a brief overview. Tofino is a pretty small town. It's a very touristy town. I wouldn't say it's touristy in the bad way, like Vegas is touristy, right? Tofino is a small town. It's got between 1,000 and 2,000 permanent residents. That's really tiny, right? So you've got a lot of flux. You've got a lot of people moving in and out of Tofino for the tourism industry. I would say that's the main driver of Tofino. You've got whale watching, of course, surfing, hiking, eco tours, all that sort of stuff. Kayaking, windsurfing, kite sailing, just you name it, it's out there if it's kind of like a water-based or ocean-based sport. A lot of really cool stuff to do there. But it is a lot of people coming through for 2 to 5 days typically to experience some of that magic. So just kind of know that the town itself is pretty small. So once you drive into that area, I would say it's like a 5-block square. And so you can walk it within an hour or two pretty easily. Of course, there's all sorts of hidden little areas that you can walk down to, like the piers, the beaches, the forest. And those are all-day trips, really, that you could do. There's hikes you could do in the old-growth forest, just beautiful, that you should definitely experience. But the actual town itself, where you will probably go to have a drink or dinner or lunch, is relatively small. Parking can be challenging at times when it gets really busy, but if you kind of drive around enough, you're going to find a spot eventually. It may not be right in front of the restaurant. It may be 2 blocks down the road, but really no big deal. So just relax, watch out for pedestrians, and just know that it's not that big. You're not going to get lost in the downtown area because it's really tiny. You could basically see everything from a single spot. So pretty tiny. Also, the downtown area is not necessarily where your hotel is going to be. That's usually where all the restaurants are, all the stores where you want to buy stuff. Maybe you want to rent your surfboard or get your wetsuit there. Maybe have a cup of coffee. Those are the places where you'll find all of that. That's not necessarily where you're going to stay, and that's totally fine. Many of the hotels are either near the beach or a little further out, in the forested area, and that's totally fine. They have a brewery, which is ironically at the very highest point in the Tofino landmass area. So if there is a tsunami, if the tsunami horns are going off at the beach, that's where everybody goes, to the brewery, because that's the highest point of the whole region. If there is a big tsunami, everybody's going to be having a few beers. So, all right. So you've booked your accommodations. You know about how to get there. You kind of know about the downtown Tofino city, what that's like. Now let's talk about food, because I don't know about you, but food is always such a big component of my holiday. And where we stayed, we had a kitchen, and we never really used it. Going back, I definitely would use the kitchen more, because with my family, a family of 4, I was dropping $150, $200 on every meal, and that adds up pretty quick if you're there for any number of days. So we did enjoy the food there. We all remarked how great the food was. However, I would think about using a kitchen or getting a kitchen in your accommodations if possible, if you're worried about that accumulation of cost, which is definitely something that hit my pocketbook later, and I was like, yeah, I would probably use the kitchen more next time. Bring a cooler of food with me and do that. There are a lot of grocery stores there, so you don't have to bring food with you, but I'd probably bring some steaks or some special things with me just to make using that kitchen a little bit more fun, right? So think about that. But having said that, there are a lot of great restaurants there. One of our favorites that we went to, and our boys just loved it, was a restaurant called Shelter. And as you drive into Tofino, it's on your left-hand side, and it's before you get to the downtown area. And it's got a really nice vibe to it. It has a bit of a view of the harbor, but it's just really good service, pretty good menu for everybody. I think everybody could find something good to eat there. And it was just kind of a cool place to go. Not too expensive, so I would definitely recommend checking that out. Pretty good fish and chips, but we also had some rice bowls and other things like that. Really good drink menu as well, so take a look at that. Parking can get tricky there sometimes because the lot usually gets pretty full. I recommend that's at the top of my list because we actually did go there a couple times. My other recommendation would be a little more cost effective. There's a restaurant in the downtown area called The Shed. And it's kind of like the Tofino version of fast food. It's really just burgers and stuff like that. And it's a little bit cheaper, maybe not as fancy, as the shelter. But pretty nice if you're there in the summertime. You can eat outside, really nice, really kind of trendy, cool vibe, cool music. Plus you're right downtown, so you can people watch and stuff like that. But you can get different drinks and burgers and fries. There's a lot of fries in Tofino. I don't know why, and they're all the same. So every restaurant I went to, I had the same French fries. So by the time I came home, the one thing I was sick of was French fries. So that will probably happen to you, so you may want to switch it up a little bit, get some salad or something with your burger. I don't know if they do that. But I was definitely tired of those French fries by the time I came home. One of the places I didn't eat at, but I did go to buy some beer, of course, was the Tofino Brewing Company. And they make their own beer there. We bought a bunch of different beers, brought it back to the hotel, drank some beers in the evening. They were really good. But I heard a lot of people were eating there, and I think the food there is probably not bad. So if you have an evening where you want to go get some craft beers and have a good time, I would recommend go check that out. I'm not advocating for any type of meal there or anything because I really don't know the menu. I didn't go there to eat, but it sounded like it was people were having fun there when I walked in. So I think that's on my list for next time I go. If you're looking for a place that's right on the ocean and you can really kind of have a really good view of the harbor, of the boats going by, you can smell the ocean breeze, all of that experience, 1909 was a restaurant that we enjoyed for that. The menu is not very extensive. We all had pizzas, I think it was, and wine and beer and stuff like that, which was good. They had a good selection of wine and beer. And the pizzas were good. I can't complain about the quality of the pizzas. The price seemed adequate, but it just was a bit of a limited menu. So if you don't like pizza, then check out the menu, see if there's anything there that you'd like, because it was a little bit more limited. But great spot if you want to have a view of the harbor and really experience the kind of Tofino atmosphere as you're dining. So check that one out. Another little treasure that we found actually on our last day was Big Daddy's Fish Fry, which sounds pretty funny. It's a very small restaurant. You may miss it even as you walk by. It's kind of, I guess, past the police station on the other side of the road there. But they do have some great chowder, some great fried fish as well. So take that out. Oh, and the coleslaw was pretty good as well. So take a look at that. I enjoyed it. It's pretty small. Get in line up when they open. Then you'll get a table. Otherwise, take it to go and maybe just eat in the park or something like that. But that's well worth visiting. I noticed their prices were a little bit cheaper than, say, the Shelter and other places for fried fish. You're going to get the exact same French fries, so that you can't avoid that. But the quality was good, the price was good, the atmosphere was good, service was good. So check that out. It's right downtown as well. Wolf in the Fog. So when we're talking about fancy restaurants, that's kind of as fancy as Tofino gets. And it looked pretty cool. The menu looked pretty good. I was actually quite excited to go there. However, I didn't. And I'd really like to get your input. If you went there, what was your experience like? Because I'm considering going there next time. I think the food there should be quite good. However, the reason I didn't go is because I was in Tofino with my family, with my young boys, and I heard through some of the reviews that some people didn't have a good time there and that it was a little bit pompous. I don't know, I didn't go, but when I read reviews like that, especially several of them, I kind of think there could be some truth in that. So I just didn't bother to go. And I think that really says something about restaurants, right? Like if you start to generate that reputation of being too fancy for your customers, then that's not going to do well for new people considering to visit your restaurant. So if you've been there and it's not like that, let me know and I'll go and I'll visit it. But I just don't want to take that risk. It's not a cheap restaurant to visit. You're going to pay a premium for that quality. I'm also paying for the service. So if the service is not good, I'm not going to bother going. So I really just took it out of my list of places to go just because of that. I don't want to face the risk of that. I don't want to ruin our holiday from a bad experience. But the menu looks good. The food looks good. The pictures of the place look good. I did drive by several times. It's right across from the Shed, ironically, which is one of the cheaper restaurants. So it did look quite nice. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. If you did go there, what was your food like? What was the service like? Let me know, and maybe I'll go there next time. All right, let's talk sushi. Now, I was not too keen to get sushi there because I kind of think that the greatest sushi chefs are probably in a city and not this small little town. However, we'd kind of eaten everywhere else. I was getting so tired of French fries. The idea of sushi was really kind of appealing at that point. So we went to Tough City Sushi, which the pictures looked kind of weird, and on the reviews it talked about tourists getting kind of shunned and embarrassed, and there's lots of swearing and stuff like that on the reviews. So I was a little bit kind of freaked out by that, but we went anyway because we really wanted to get some sushi. And yeah, it was a little entertaining. I think that the maitre d', or the person that shows you your table there, was entertaining and very kind of jovial, but I don't think was rude in any way. And it was super nice to our family. Gave us some great seats right by the window. And I think the place is kind of very trendy and quirky. So maybe that threw some people off. I know it is visited by many of the locals there, so they kind of might view it as their spot. But we did not experience any problems at all. In fact, we experienced great hospitality and super good sushi, which was weird. I didn't expect the sushi there to be such good quality. And they have a very funny menu you can check out. They have a big statue of Buddha with a drink in his hand at the front entrance, which is really kind of quirky but cool. So if you're into awesome sushi, good sake, and kind of a quirky yet cool environment right in the ocean, great views, then get some sushi there. I would highly recommend at least one visit to that place before you leave Tofino. Okay, so if you're anything like me, you need a cup of coffee in the morning to really get started. You have basically 3 choices if you're not making your own coffee. And the first 2 are very well known. The first one is the Tofino. I don't know if I'm saying that right. It's about 10 minutes away from downtown. It's a fairly big building with a bunch of other buildings around it. They've got a grocery store and a bunch of other stores there, plenty of parking. Pull in the morning, there's going to be a lineup. It's going to be at least 15 minutes in the line. But they have great coffees. They have shirts and hats for sale too that are really kind of cool designs. Lots of pastries and things like that as well, which were actually quite good. So I'd highly recommend check that out for at least one of your coffees in the morning. That's pretty cool. If you're downtown and you want to get your coffee downtown, then the best place to go would be the Rhino Coffee House. But understand, that place is super popular, and so there's going to be a big lineup. You're going to wait at least 15 minutes for coffee at that location. But they have great donuts. They have great wraps. My son had a wrap there, just loved it. That was probably one of his favorite meals. So check that out for sure. That's a cool place. I think the coffee in both of those locations are pretty equal. Yeah, I think they get their beans from the same location. A new one that just opened called The Drift is just a little bit down the street from the Rhino. It's got a motorbike parked outside. Very cool place, brand new. Not too many tourists know about it. Rather than going to the Rhino where I was going to wait 15 minutes on my last day there, I went to The Drift. And I wondered what it was because I couldn't really tell what it was when I first drove by because it's kind of on the edge of town. But I went there, exact same coffee they're serving at the Rhino. Beautiful shop, great service, very cool, trendy place, and had a great conversation with the server. And I think that's well worth visiting. So unless you want to go to one of those other places like the Tofino or the Rhino to buy one of their shirts or hats, then I would recommend go to the Drift. They have shirts and hats there too. They're just not as well known. They've got surf records and all sorts of cool little things, knickknacks. But if you just want a cup of coffee or a cappuccino or a mocha or something, I'd say the Drift is awesome because no lineup, same price, same beans. So check out those 3. I'm sure you'll like at least one of them. Okay, so we got accommodations, we got the trip, we've got our coffee, we got our food sorted out. Now, things to do there. There's so many things to do there. And we stayed there for 4 days. And I wasn't ready to leave yet. I had just so many things to do there. We surfed 2 days, and there were so many hikes that you could do, and just walking on the beach and having a beer at one of the restaurants. There's just so many things to do. But some of the things I would recommend that you check out for sure include, of course, surfing. And so we rented our boards and gear and got a lesson from the Pacific Surf Company, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But there's also other stuff you can do as well, like shopping. Plenty of places to shop for hats and gear and clothing, and some of that's pretty cool there. Lots of kind of surf memorabilia, like hats and stickers and t-shirts and all that sort of stuff. If you want to buy a board or any sort of surf gear, the Storm Surf Shop is really iconic in Tofino. It's been there forever. It's got a huge selection, a really cool store to visit. You've just got to go there and check it out. Also, they've got whale watching. You can go out on a Zodiac and see the whales, which is a very unique opportunity. A lot of people come back from those trips and they're just amazed at seeing the whales out there in the ocean. So a really cool experience. Even the boat ride alone is going to be a lot of fun. So check that out. Seaplanes, you can get a seaplane ride. You can actually take a seaplane to Tofino if you want, which is pretty cool. And then finally, just beachcombing. You can walk the beach and really have a good time and see all the different things that wash up on the beach, the seaweed and the logs, and just such a beautiful beach. It's perfectly sandy. Long Beach is amazing because it's really long, so you can spend the day just walking the beach. which is pretty cool. Oh, and one more thing. So if you do have time, I would check out the old growth forest, and that's pretty amazing. They've got special walks that take you through there as well. So something definitely to check out there. Okay, so let's talk surfing, because that was the main reason why I wanted to take my family there. I wanted to introduce them to surfing and kind of show them what it was all about to see if they would have interest in that over the long term or not. So with surfing, just like accommodations, book it early. It will fill up. What I booked was the family lesson, a family group lesson, because there was 3 of us, me and the 2 boys. The wife this time didn't want to do it, but I think she might next time. But if you book a group lesson with other people, I think that's probably going to be more affordable. The difference there was we had our own instructor for us, which was pretty cool. We got a lot of attention. But I don't think you necessarily need that. So in the other bigger group lesson, they had about 10 people for one instructor. And I think that's totally sufficient. They're just going to go through the safety with you, how to do it, the technique, and then you're just going to go out in the water and try it, right? So you don't need to have a lot of instructors for that. If you're looking to do it a little bit more cost effectively, check that out, just the public group lesson. They will give you all the gear that you need, including a wetsuit, including the boots, but no gloves and no hoodie, depending on the time of year that you're going. If you're going in the winter, of course you would get that. But for us, we were kind of going in the late summer, and the water was very warm. I thought it would be a lot colder, but it was actually super warm, and my hands didn't get cold at all. My face didn't get cold at all. I was going in the water several times, under the water several times, and I never felt cold at all. So that was a surprise to me. Also, I felt very safe. I kind of worried a little bit about getting thrown down on the beach and things like that, but it was very, very safe where we were. And the swells were actually bigger than normal for that time of year. So yeah, very safe. They take good care of you, so I highly recommend that. They also give you a special surfboard, which is a little bit bigger, and it's called a soft top because it's soft on the top, which allows you to get a little bit better grip, but then also if the board hits you, it doesn't really hurt. And so I did have the board slam into me a few times just because the waves are pushing it against me because I'm clumsy. And I had no problems at all. So I think that's really nice, pretty good equipment. One of the things I did notice was the strap on the board that straps to your leg. On the second day we went on our own and we rented equipment, that kept coming off. And when I took it back and kind of complained, they're like, oh yeah. So they didn't even care. So I think that was one bad experience that I had for surfing and renting gear there. But so check that. When you get the gear from the shop, check the strap and the Velcro on the strap. And if it just comes off with a touch, then take it back and say, hey, this is not going to work for me. I need either a new board or a new strap on this board and get that done. Because there's nothing more frustrating than having your board shoot off and go up on the beach and you have to go chase it down because it takes a lot of work to actually get out there to where you want to surf. So that's one thing that hopefully that helps you a little bit when you're picking out surf gear or renting surf gear. When you're taking your lesson, the first half of the lesson is all about safety. So they're going to tell you what to watch out for as far as back eddies, different hand signals that you can do if you're getting into trouble, different things like that. Don't worry too much. They're going to take good care of you. It's a very controlled environment and it's just a really good time. But the first little while is going to be all about safety. You're going to be on the beach talking to the instructor. You're not going to be out in the water until, say, the last half of the lesson. And that's where you really get to have the fun, and it's a great time. And for me personally and the boys, we could have done it twice as long. I think the limiter there that you'll have is your body will just get tired after a while. My arms were just destroyed on the second day, and I actually had to stop much sooner than I wanted to. I wanted to keep surfing, but my arms were just so tired from the waves pushing the board up and down like that, and me kind of using my arms as a shock absorber with my board. I'm sure if you've got a better technique, your arms won't get as tired. But for me, that was the big thing. And, you know, if you're in better shape than me as well, that's probably going to help a little bit. I think when I go again, what I'll do is I'll surf one day, rest the next day, surf the next day. So kind of alternate that a little bit so my body has time to repair and to rest a little bit. Yeah, so that was our surfing experience in Tofino. I can't wait to go back next year. I think I'll bring more food with me, have the kitchenette, and stay for a few days longer. So I have some rest days built into our schedule. And I also want to do more hiking when I'm there. We did one hike. We were surfing in Cox Bay. That's C-O-X, not the other spelling. And we did some hiking on the left-hand side of the bay. Beautiful little hike up on the hill there. Really fantastic views out over the ocean. So I highly recommend taking a look at some hikes. Depending on how far you want to go, they have really short hikes, which are beautiful. And they have longer hikes that'll take you all day, which are just going to be amazing as well. And so I would highly recommend that. That's what I'm going to do next time I go there. I can't wait to go back. I hope you have a great experience there as well. I'd love to hear from you if you've already been there. What did you enjoy? What did you not enjoy? Any good secrets you can share with the community here? And that's it for today. So hopefully this video helps you on your adventures in Tofino. Have a great time and have an awesome time surfing. All right, see you later. Happy trails.